nature of transnational threats in today's international system impose on not only European countries but basically all countries to cooperate. Because frankly, the challenges that we face, like international terrorism, are so broad and are so significant that not only one country can deal with them. And because of that, it's important that both countries cooperate closely with each other. They're both members of NATO. They're both members of the European Union, at least for the time. And both countries, therefore, do not only engage bilaterally, but also within these multinational organizations. So basically, the relationship between the UK and Germany has many different forums, has many different formats. So, for example, they meet together with all of their European partners and allies in bodies like the Military Committee, that is NATO's supreme military forum. They meet within the European Council. They are jointly cooperating in organizations like the European Defence Agency. So you have many different levels, many different forms of cooperation. At the same time, there are a lot of bilateral exchanges at the political level between governments, of course also between parliamentarians. So there are regularly delegations from the German Bundestag here in London, or members of the House of Commons will go over to Berlin to discuss security and defense matters. And of course also the military planners are meeting regularly and exchanging views on respective defense postures and the strategic challenges that the United Kingdom and Germany face. Britain's position in the European Union certainly is of significance for its international standing. Particularly the United States regards a UK that is a member of the European Union as an important asset, so to say, because through the membership of the European Union, the British voice is heard in the different forms of the European Union, the European Council, for example, within the bodies of the European Union, such as the European Defence Agency. And it also has a very important external dimension. When the UK engages as part of the European Union internationally, international actors will not only see the United Kingdom, but they see one of the key stakeholders of the European community. And that is very important because it gives the United Kingdom much more credibility in many ways. And it also makes the international partners aware that it's not only the United Kingdom making a point, but it's the European Union as a whole that has an argument to make, and therefore they might listen to that argument with much more care and much more attention than they would do, perhaps, if the United Kingdom would not be a member of the European Union. Should the United Kingdom decide to leave the European Union, one could arguably make the point that that would, at least in relative terms, increase Germany's influence, and for that matter, France's influence within the European Union formats. So, for example, in the European Council or the European Defence Agency, you would have, because the British are not on the table, the French and the Germans probably leading the way. That in some cases might make cooperation easier, because arguably in many ways in the past the British have often been very reluctant to engage in certain activities. But at the same time, when you look outward, there is the issue of credibility and punch again. Without the British as being part of the European Union defence effort, it will become very difficult for the European Union to have the same impact internationally in this domain as with the United Kingdom. So the key point here is that of symbolism. What kind of signal would a Brexit send to the international community, to emerging powers like India, like Brazil, China, Russia? Because a Brexit would arguably put the whole European project into question. We don't know in how far that would go, but there is certainly the notion that a Brexit challenges this whole concept. And so therefore I would argue what it really comes down to is the question of how will this Brexit be perceived by the international community, and can we ensure that even if a Brexit happens, that Europe as a whole is still perceived as a credible, important defense and security stakeholder that has the ability to act internationally and to still within the NATO framework be an effective defense stakeholder. And if I may add a third issue that I think needs tackling on both sides of the channel, that is, how do we deal with the public? I think it's incredibly important, particularly in light of the Afghanistan operations, that in the public eye at least have not been incredibly successful, to communicate very clearly and transparently what the challenges for European defense, for British and German defense are in the coming years, and to make sure that the public has a way to contribute to the development of defense policy.